happened? Why did you do that to Gangle? That's the scene that I think left all of us a little bit shocked. I was asking the question at first, so I figured I might as well answer it, is why would they make Gangle get hit by a truck? I actually think that I have the psychological answer to why. So everyone put on your therapy hats and let's get into Gangle and fast food masquerade.
Omni, we need you on the register! Stop weirding the customers out!
But it's gummy goo. Can't the job wait a bit? It's not like this is real.
Next you're gonna say my authority isn't real.
For Gangle, I think that she's just so proud to be able to show how good she is at the job that she had before. And it's difficult to be a manager, to be able to manage people. It's also really interesting that in this role, Gangle is able to apply consequences, enforce rules, and be able to deal with confrontation. And for people that are more caretakers and worried about disappointing people, confrontation can be really difficult. And in most of the other scenes of Digital Circus, Gangle has a really hard time in forcing boundaries and standing up for herself. But in this job, she knows what mask she has to wear, and that's totally fine. The problem is that if you allow that to become who you are, not just a role you're doing at the time, you start to see the cracks that are happening in the mask that Gangle is wearing. Now, usually this mask would crack and she would be free of it. But in this, she is stuck in this role. She's trapped having to play this role because this mask won't crack. And a lot of times that can be the anxiety, feeling stuck, feeling trapped, not being able to get free. In this case, it's more of a metaphor, but a lot of people feel stuck in their lives, stuck in the roles that they have to play, have to constantly pretend that they are something that they're not. And that causes a lot of mental overload and stress to the system, because we can do it for a short period of time, but we end up expending more energy than we have. And that's why a lot of people that are dealing with depression and anxiety don't want to hang around with other people, because they just can't handle having to pretend that things are okay, because they don't want to overload on others and then feel a burden and then feel abandoned.
The bathroom looks like a biohazard and needs a good scrubbing.
Well, I don't know. Shouldn't, biohazard crew take care of that?
Don't you want to be a model employee?
No, I don't care about any of this.
Well, that doesn't really sound like a can-do attitude to me.
It's not.
Bad.
I like you better when you're sad.
And that's what happens when people notice the parts underneath you or critique you. It's almost like having pieces of you get cut from yourself, especially when they're trying so much to hold it together. This is this difficulty that she's dealing with. Now, I think it's also really interesting that she's able to deal with boundaries and consequences with Jax, the person that is the most confrontational with her, and usually these roles are reversed. But in this case, she knows that she has permission, and the right thing to do is to be able to do the job and do well. The problem though is with people that care a lot about doing well is that that can be a lot of pressure on their system, and that can often cause work burnout, which can be really exhausting when you're constantly giving energy to something that does not give you that reward, or you're not acknowledged or not noticed, or people are constantly giving you a hard time. It can be emotionally really exhausting. And yes, it is usually the people that care about their work that end up getting more work because of how well they do at it. And one of those first signs is if you are thinking about work and cannot shut that off when work is over. That's one of those first warning bells that you might need to pull back.
Well, maybe you just need some more training.
Rules and boundaries are only good if they are enforced, if they are stepped over. A lot of people say, well, I said this or I did this, but they don't actually have a consequence that happens if that doesn't occur. And in this case, good on Gangle. She has a consequence if someone isn't going to listen and follow the rules. But it's only in this one area that she's able to apply this skill. Maybe after this episode, she'll be able to apply it in other areas of her life as well.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
This episode, I think Jax is the most interesting character. That change, this shift, that we get to see Jax after he went to training. And if everyone is interested, I'll do an episode just on Jax alone. But you see how Pomni doesn't feel safe giving real information to Jax, because usually he'll just use it against it. But in this case, he seems really genuine. This episode, I think we see some underlying pieces to Jax that we don't usually.
Jax, there's dishes back here. You got time to lean, you got time to clean.
God. I'm on it. Later, Pomni.
And that's the first sign that a boundary and consequence was effective, is that someone listens and tries to do better. And the coolest part is that this is Gangle showing a consequence, and it's Jax who's listening. And that shows that she was able to do this effectively to one of the people that's the most difficult to be able to fall into line. So good on Gangle. I just want to say good on Gangle for not wanting her emotional need for release, which she knew that she had to do to be able to take off the mask, to do it in front of her employees. Sometimes you just need to vent or share and do it in a way that is not going to be detrimental to the workforce or is not going to undermine your own authority. So she did it in a place of privacy, or at least she thought so. And I think that it also, though, could be a sign that Gangle does not feel really comfortable to be able to share all of her deep emotions with other people. I think that for a lot of us, we worry that if people really saw beneath the mask, that people would either judge us or not feel as good about who we are as a person, or may abandon us. And that often comes from the fact that we might have been teased or bullied or abandoned or felt like we weren't good enough from our childhood or from our parental figures. And that can be really damaging and cause a strong inner critic to who we are. And Gangle is really hard on herself. She's often judging and critical, which increases your feelings of isolation, anxiety, and depression.
You good?
My comedy mask is usually broken by now.
We're doing another one of these. Is the mask not making you happy?
They don't, right? We often put on a facade not for ourselves, but to make other people feel comfortable with us. And so it's not real. It just looks happy. And for a lot of people that are dealing with depression, strong depression, everyone around them doesn't know. You don't want people to know, to be able to give you advice or check in with you all the time or have pity. And so a lot of people are like, oh, they seemed really happy to me. I had no clue what was going on beneath the mask. So yes, a lot of times no one knows and thinks because you're acting happy or you're able to laugh, that means that you are. Those things are not mutually exclusive. You can have happiness, smile, but not feel internally okay. And for a lot of times, depression is not the same for each person. For some, it could be more of a loss of motivation. For others, it could be deep sadness. For others, it can feel isolating and alone.
Do you have anybody to talk to? I'm sure Ragatha would like to help you out.
Oh, Ragatha. I love her, but after a while, it gets kinda hard to tell how genuine she's actually being.
And that's the other fear that people are faking happiness or they don't really mean it. That's that inner negative self-talk, that critique that happens inside of your head. It's actually one of the leading pieces to depression that feeds it, and anxiety. The negative self-talk that we have inside of ourselves that you need to be able to become aware of. But that can make us question that feeling of safety with those around us, probably because our childhood or parental group was not safe. So we learned that people might be saying something that they don't mean. That's why it's really important, especially in these cases, that when you're giving advice or support, you want to be genuine, be able to be positive and to be there, but also genuine. Because for Gangle, I believe that she really feels like she is too much for everyone around her, and she fears that she's going to be abandoned, and that when people are nice, they're just being nice to fake it, and they don't really mean it. And that fear, that worry to actually trust someone is so scary because she's worried that if she trusts that Ragatha is genuine and she finds out she's wrong, that would be soul-crushing. And so it's easier to just not believe, and not trust, and keep yourself on guard.
Well, maybe...
Anyway, we can't spend all night out here talking about our feelings. We've got work to do.
And so then right away, Gangle goes to a role that she feels more comfortable with, that she feels like she has self-esteem. So when we've done something and we've been good at it, that's the bucket that we feel comfortable with. And when we feel unsteady or unsure, we may go back to that role that we play. For a lot of people, they don't feel comfortable being intimate to sharing hurts and wounds with other people in fear of judgment or just not feeling safe with that. And I think that also it's that Pomni is not her person. It's usually Zubul who she feels more safe with. And so she goes back to the role that she knows and becomes the manager and puts back on that happy mask so she can continue with the job at hand.
You know, when Ragatha gets off, I feel like she might need a designated driver.
Why are you asking me? I'm closing tonight.
Oh, no, I meant I'd drive her home.
Oh.
And you see that right away, Gangle assumes that it means her, that she's the one that's going to have to do even more work. As a caretaker, you're often overloaded and doing more for everyone else. So I think that this also shows a little bit of who Gangle is and why she is actually in the digital circus right now. These are the lessons, the things that she needs to change and to be able to learn from. When you are the caretaker, you're the one that's doing everything for everyone else. And when there's a problem, you're the one that you feel, or other people might feel, that you have to solve it. But the secret hope of the caretaker is to be able to be cared for, to be able to be seen, and to be able to be thought of. And so I think that for Gangle, it's that shock that there's something in need, something that needs to be fixed, but she's being told that someone else is going to be able to take care of it, not her. This is different than what she's used to, and she's a little bit shocked because of that. And I think it's also lovely to see Zubul, the changes that they have gone through, how they used to be a little bit more distant, and that's the progress that they've been making through the digital circus as well.
I think she gets off in an hour.
Okay, I can stick around until then.
And the other piece of dealing with anxiety and depression is it is very isolating. I think that this scene of seeing the world moving and that Gangle is separated from that is really very common and very painful. For you, it's almost like you're at a standstill in comparison to everything else. You can even have that feeling of existential anxiety of, what am I supposed to do? What am I doing here? Why is all of this happening? And that isolation can be very painful. You can tell that for Gangle, she's just stuck in this.
Hey, I can close for you if you want.
Huh?
You don't have to be stuck here alone. I can handle closing.
Would that be okay?
It's kind of funny. Sometimes we actually do need that. We feel such an obligation to what society's rules are and what we're supposed to do that often we need someone else to give us permission to be able to take care of ourselves. That is so very common with people that are codependent or caretakers. You are often taking care of so many other people that you don't even think to give yourself permission. Only if someone else has said, why aren't you doing A, B, or C, do you even realize or recognize that you can do that. You can take care of yourself and that you are important. You're so busy looking after everyone else, doing the things that are right, doing the things that are expected of you, that you haven't even thought of that. And you want to remember that other people's expectations are not your obligations. Just because someone wants you to do it, it doesn't mean you have to say yes. You need to think about yourself as well. I love that scene. I love Gangle being able to just throw that mask away and to be able to be rid of it. The things that we have to do, the obligations that we need to be able to really be herself and be comfortable in that, and to be able to have those moments of joy and exuberance. Often when we're dealing with the psychology of people, when we feel shackled and we feel helpless, it's often ourselves that are forcing us into these roles and being stuck. So you often need to give yourself permission to be able to let go of these things that we hold on to that are shackling us. And so you want to be able to look at what are the patterns that you yourself are making that are leaving you stuck and feeling helpless. And I would say journal and write out what are the things that you would like to do and why aren't you doing them? Sometimes it is just that feeling of fear or judgment, or because you don't think that you can, that you don't. The scene, I think that for all of us, was kind of shocking of why in the world would they show Gangle getting hit by the truck? It is so very common for my people that are dealing with anxiety or depression to say that they don't want to feel better. Why feel better? Why allow myself the risk of being happy when I could lose it all? When something bad could happen and then I'll feel horrible again. It's like climbing a mountain and then I'm going to fall off the cliff and land on the ground anyways. Why not just stay on the ground? And so that feeling of if I'm happy, I'm going to fall down and lose it all, be hit by that truck is, I can't believe that happened at that moment, really. I'm going to hold Gangle. I think that interesting in the therapeutic relationship, sometimes you are having to be able to help someone and support. So I will play that role right now. Where was I? Oh, yes. So a lot of times when we're dealing with having to be able to feel better, people are wondering why, if things can happen and go bad or might end up losing it or something bad might happen to them and how much that might hurt. And so staying on the ground may seem safer, but the truth is that how do you get better at something is by practicing it. Being happy is not like climbing a mountain where you're going to fall down. It's more like playing a game of poker where you're gathering those chips. The happier you are, the more you're practicing that part of your brain, which will strengthen and get better. And the better you are at it, when you do have those low moments, you'll be able to produce dopamine and feel happy and better more easily. So it is more accurate to say that you can stay in the game and be able to recover more quickly from any of those bad things that could happen in your life. So that is the reason why I think that in this case, we get to see Gangle getting hit by that truck, that fear of being able to risk, trust, and believe, and that sometimes bad things do happen. But I think that for Gangle, she can see some of the traits that she possesses, and hopefully she can keep that, because those are the techniques that we use to be able to help people get out of depression, to be able to look at yourself accurately, assess all of the traits that you do have, and not just focus on the negative. If you want to be more at peace with all of your various parts and help your self-esteem, expand your mind and yourself, you can do that with today's sponsor, Brilliant.org. Learn, enhance, grow with Brilliant's ever-expanding set of new courses. Brilliant makes college-level courses available to help you become smart in this digital world. Each course is designed for high-velocity learning to help you stay focused and reach your goals so that you're not the last one to the circus. And Brilliant makes learning like a game with fun features that let you challenge yourself, compete with others, so it never gets boring. And we know that when learning is fun and engaging, it just makes that knowledge stick better, so you remember more easily and more quickly. And we really want that, because while we're doing it, we want it to just stick. And Brilliant has thousands of lessons: math, chemistry, physics, engineering, computer science, and more, with new lessons being added monthly. I've so far done their courses on algebra, logic, geometry, and I found them engaging. I know, you're like, no, there's no way. No, I really found them engaging. And when I practice a skill, I just practice for 15 minutes a day. That is all you need to do. So no one can tell me that they don't have 15 minutes a day to learn more. And their course on logic has like these challenging problem-solving exercises where you get to construct those critical thinking skills, which is the basis for mathematical reasoning. I enjoyed it because it was interactive, which is my favorite part because I am that visual, hands-on learner. And it was also at the pace that I wanted to learn at, so there wasn't any pressure. And they also have courses such as how large language models work. Yes, we're talking AI, and the intro into probability. And if you're still not sure, just try everything that Brilliant has to offer for free. I said it, free for 30 days. Just head on over to brilliant.org/Georgia Dow. Yes, use my link, because even doing it for free helps out my channel, so thank you so much. And if you want more, which I'm sure you will, you can also get 20% off of an annual premium subscription. So just click on the button on the screen or head on over to brilliant.org/Georgia Dow, because we all could have some more knowledge to be able to make sense of this huge circus we call life. And so thank you so much to Brilliant for sponsoring this video, and thank you to you. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. So those are some of my thoughts on Gangle and why Gangle was hit by a truck. You can let me know what your thoughts are. Do you agree with me? Do you not? In the comments below. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video.